faculty and staff, and members of the Hattiesburg community for attending our college's signature speaker series. The Inspired Speaker Series Leadership Program officially started in 2016 with the goal of attracting nationally recognized business leaders to share their stories of success, to discuss the real-world challenges they faced along the way, and to provide some insight on the leadership skills our students need to be successful in today's marketplace. In addition to this presentation, the Inspired Leader spends time with the college's executive leadership team and visits classes to engage with faculty and students. These interactions ensure that we remain relevant and in touch with current business practices. It also affords us the opportunity to tell the Southern Miss story, business story, and the values that we hold true, that we are genuine, relevant, inclusive, and tenacious. Although our Inspired Leader speaker today knows us all too well and what we aspire to be, as he is an alumnus of our college, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our sixth Inspired Leader, Mr. Duane Lock. Now that name should sound familiar to you because Mr. Lock sponsored the Lock Commons area here in the first floor Sienna Hall, which is a very popular gathering area for our faculty and staff. Thank you for your support and welcome back to campus. Mr. Lock is the president and founder of River Oaks Energy Company in Dallas, Texas. He received his BSBA degree from the University of Southern Mississippi in 1983 and an MBA from Rockhurst University in Kansas City, Missouri. Following graduation, he was employed by the Xerox Corporation from 1984 to 1994, where he served as a training instructor and held a variety of management positions across the state. Prior to becoming an entrepreneur, Mr. Lock held senior management positions in publicly traded energy companies, concentrated in merger acquisitions, finance, risk management, marketing, and commodities trading. He then used his extensive experience to build his own electricity brokering consulting company over the last 16 years. Mr. Lock is heavily involved in supporting his community and country, having served in the U.S. Marine Corps Active Reserve from 1979 to 1983. He is the board member for Nexus Ventures, board and executive committee member for the USM Foundation, and vice president, board, and executive committee member for Volunteers of America, Texas. In 2017, he was appointed by the Texas Governor Greg Abbott as Commissioner of the Jail Standards for Texas. In addition, he serves on the Board of Trustees for Rockhurst University and the National Seminars Group. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Lock.
Good morning.
Good morning. Boy, what a crowd we have here today. Good morning to the President, Dr. Bennett. It's always good to see you. To the members of the faculty, provost, fellow alumnus, and distinguished guests, and of course, the students. As always, for me, it's an honor to be back here at this wonderful University of Southern Mississippi, which I love so much. But I'm especially excited to be here as part of the Inspired Leaders series, hosted by the College of Business and Economic Development. You know, as I learned more about this Inspired Leaders series, I realized this is a really, really big deal. And then I started to get excited, but yet humbled at the thought of being an invited guest, because everyone doesn't get that opportunity to speak as I've gotten today. So naturally, with so much at stake, I went kind of deep into thought. And then I started to ask a lot of questions, so I reached out to the likes of JT, Bailey, the Dean, and others, and I said, I would like to know a little bit more about the students. And so they fed me this information. About 89% of the student body at Southern Miss receives some type of financial aid. And also, I want you to know that about 40% of the freshmen that's entering this university come from households of income less than $48,000 a year. And did you know that about 50% of our freshmen are first-generation students? I mention and bring up these questions because some 35 years ago, I graduated in 1983 from here, and I too fell into those statistics. So student, I thought long and hard about what might have inspired me some 35 years ago when I was sitting in the same seats you're sitting in today. Well, for as long as I can remember, from about age 5, I was inspired and believed in the desire of lifting myself out of the category of the working poor. So I also figured, there's only so long I can go. Working on a farm, collecting 10,000 eggs every day. That's 6 eggs, by the way. And I did that every day with 6 in each egg, loading the baskets on that farm. Although many things have changed for me, one thing has not changed. I was ambitious, curious, and very, very determined to find my place in this world, even though I had no idea what that thing was, because I was so naive and very, very green, as many of you are. The truth is, I was so unworldly. I had only been out of the state of Mississippi once when I came to Southern, even though I grew up some 40 miles from the state line of Louisiana. But over the last 35 years, I've traveled a lot. I've learned a lot. And I've had a lot of interesting job assignments. And I've also become an entrepreneur. So I'd like to share my story with you a bit today and cover a few of the people and events that inspired me over the journey of my life and work, and hope that some of my experiences will inspire you as well. I grew up on a farm with 10 kids in Brandon, Mississippi, in Rankin County. We worked that chicken farm with 10,000 chickens, and on a typical day, we gathered 10,000 eggs and sold them for 10 cents a dozen. I will never, ever forget the rigid schedule we followed. We collected eggs at 10 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and 5 o'clock in the afternoon every single day, Sundays included. So while I'm talking about chickens and eggs, here's a few fun facts I think you'll find interesting. Did you know a chicken from 2 months to about 12 months lay an egg every 24 hours, and sometimes more? And I'm sure you've always wondered, what is the difference between a brown shelled egg and a white shelled egg? I'm sure you've always wondered that. Well, here's the answer. White-shelled eggs are usually produced by hens with white feathers and white earlobes. Brown-shelled eggs are usually produced by hens with white or red feathers and red earlobes. If anyone tells you anything other than that, they simply are mistaken. That's the difference between a white eggshell and a brown eggshell. And now, all of you cooks, if you happen to drop an egg on the kitchen floor, the best way to clean that up is to pour a lot of salt on it, and it'll clean right up. So, ask me anything you want about chickens and eggs, and I probably can answer. I was first inspired as a young child by my grandfather. Even though there are many grandkids, I became a shadow of his and literally went everywhere with him. As some of you know, farmers are the ultimate entrepreneurs. I remember going house to house peddling. Peddling is the same thing as selling. And I remember us going, and he would take those black-eyed peas and those tomatoes and those watermelons, and he would clean and shine each one of them so that they would appear real appealing to the customer. He did that simple, small, ordinary thing extraordinarily well. And so when we came back home, everything was sold. I'm going to come back to that point later. do the ordinary things extraordinarily well in your life. You don't have to be a genius. You just have to do things really, really well. He would dress up in his best khakis and plaid shirt, and I'd try to do the same. After pedaling, we would then go to the wholesale groceries markets, and we would try to stock his small general store by buying candy, cigarettes, Cokes, and we stocked that small general store. I was around 10 years old at the time. I was so inspired by my granddad's hard work, his quiet demeanor, and his commitment to family. My granddad was totally illiterate. He couldn't read or write his own name. So as I would go from wholesale place to wholesale place, I would read and sign all of his paperwork at about age 10. The community I grew up in, everyone didn't have running water. So there were many times we'd load the back of the pickup with water barrels and go house to house delivering fresh water for neighbors for cooking purposes. We had a deep water well because everyone knows that chickens need lots and lots of fresh water. So the sense of giving back in the community with that simple gesture of providing fresh water inspires me as an adult today because it left an everlasting impression and sealed an important memories for me to help others when you have the means to do so. I'm not that old. At least I don't consider myself very old. But I went to a segregated school until 5th grade in Rankin County. It was a major, major adjustment for everyone, teachers, students, parents, as you can well imagine. School integration was a turbulent time back then, and sadly, many schools are still struggling with school integration even today. Next, I was inspired by my mother. She was quite the role model, even though she was 4'11" tall. Think about this. My parents had 10 kids. I'm the 7th. My mom went back to school and became a histopathology technician and worked in the pathology lab at the University of Mississippi Medical Center, Ole Miss, for 35 years. And you wonder why I hate Ole Miss. I really don't. I kind of like Ole Miss, that's true. But I don't like some of their things. But I like Ole Miss. She provided an inspiration for us all because she was the first professional female in our community to work outside of the home. She was the first female that drove a car on a regular basis. And I remember her picking up workers, giving them rides to the hospital because she was the only one that drove as a female. Also, my mom was a complete stickler for education. She really pushed me and all of us to get a formal college education. She was quite the inspiration. When I was 15 years old, I was going into my sophomore year when I was approached by the principal of the high school to become the school bus driver. I guess my neighbors saw me driving around the farm with trucks and cars and tractors and thought I'd make a good bus driver to replace him as he retired. And I know you're sitting there saying to yourself, what? Yes, I drove the school bus with 63 kids, 28 miles, one way, my 10th, 11th, and 12th grade of high school. And I'll ask you this question. Would you allow your 3rd grade child to get on a bus today with a 15-year-old? I think not. My brothers attended USM before I did. They both lived in Bond Hall, and as a high schooler, I often visited and stayed in the dorm with them during spring break for a couple of days. I fell completely in love with this university during those visits. There are so many memories I have. I remember going to the first game at the renovated M.M. Roberts Stadium, September 25th, 1976. I sneaked in with a fake ID. Yes, I did. The first game was against Ole Miss. I'm not going to tell you the outcome. You have to look that up for yourself. My brothers inspired me as they served as my role model. It meant so much coming to campus and hanging out with my brothers because they gave me the ability to see what was possible by going to college. I majored in business and I had so many great professors, such as the late Dr. Joseph Green, Dr. Breland, and Dr. Black, and many, many others. After graduation, I left Southern Miss and moved to New Orleans on a mission to pursue opportunities far beyond my thinking. I found out, and you will too, that it's up to you, the individual person, and your determination, efforts, and job performance that will ultimately win out in the working world. Because you see, the university provides a great foundation, but you yourself have to build your own house. When I grew up on that chicken farm right here in Mississippi, I attended a small school. We had 27 in my graduation class. And at first glance, you sit there and say to yourself, with my background, one might say, by all accounts, I'm poor. I'm rural. Statistically, you would say, well, this guy has no chance of succeeding in life. But boy, were they wrong. I want to please ask you to make a note to yourself. Make a note to yourself, students, with this. Never, ever let anyone convince you things are impossible, or even suggest to you you can't succeed or fulfill your dreams, because it's simply not so. Hard work, paying attention to details, will win out. I spent nearly 20 years in corporate America. Most people don't know that, because I usually don't talk that much about that. I worked 10 years from Xerox, from 1984 to 1994, where I was promoted and moved several times. I lived in New Orleans twice, I lived in Dallas twice, I lived in D.C., I lived in Kansas City, and over the years I held a number of positions, from marketing, sales, general manager, and I was also an instructor, teaching at the world-famous Xerox International Center for Management and Training Development. We called it XICTMD. As an instructor, we had a schedule. We would teach 4 weeks in the classroom, and we would travel across the world for a week. I think over a 2-year period, I went to 37 cities. I worked at a time during very wonderful times and also times of great change and transition. As you might recall, Xerox was the world's #1 copier company in 1974 with 85% market share. And in 1985, the share had dropped to 40%, and it continued to move from there. We came into the 90s at 6% market share, and I was there during most of that time. You also might recall Xerox invented the first PC in the late 1970s. It was called the 820 Star System, where we had the mouse and all of that stuff. I know that because we used that computer in the office all the time. Then in 1984, during the second half of the Super Bowl, YouTube, you'll see it. The world changed forever in the computer world when Apple introduced the Macintosh computer. YouTube it, you'll see it. They ran that out once. Not only did it change the computer world, it changed Xerox as well. And if you want to know more about Xerox and how that American samurai company evolved, I recommend 2 books. One is called Fumbling the Future. The other one is called Xerox, the American Samurai. They're very, very good books. Early in my career, I met the person that inspired me the most in corporate America. He was several management levels above me. His name was Kearney LeDay. He was a really big wig with 25,000 employees reporting to him, covering 10 states. And he became sort of an unofficial mentor. His office was in Dallas, I was in New Orleans, and he would often visit and take me to lunch or breakfast or something like that. And I was terrified each time that he was going to fire me. But what he was actually doing is he was checking me out to see if I had what it took to be successful in his mind. And then we often had presentations of sorts. We would present in front of him and his senior management team as salespeople, and they would select the best person that represented Xerox the best. Like for me, I won a lot of those contests. And this is one of those times where I did the ordinary things extraordinarily well. Because I knew I wasn't the smartest. But I remembered back to polishing those tomatoes, polishing those watermelons, and paying attention to detail. And I did that every time I went into a contest, and I won almost every time, because everybody else was pie in the sky, big picture. But I paid attention to the details. And therefore I won. And I just did it and found the right person. So within 9 months, I was promoted and moved to Dallas. And the moving continued. So within 18 months, I moved again. I went to Lynchburg, Virginia, to the training center right outside of D.C. All under the watchful eye of Colonel. I learned so many things from him, everything from life, business, and how to handle myself in social and business settings. So then in 1994, I was approached by the utility company in Kansas City to become an executive, sort of heading up marketing, commodities, trading, and of all things, the media. At the time, I said to myself, and I said to Kathy, I said, does a utility company need to compete for anything? And at the time, it didn't. But when I sat down with the CEO for what I thought was going to be an hour breakfast, we started at 7 a.m. and we finished at 2 p.m. And we had 2 meals sitting at the same table. And we talked about everything. And we talked about how we might position the company to preempt competition. I found the meeting with the CEO to be a fascinating exchange of business ideas because I had learned many of those things on how to compete during my time at Xerox. Well, I decided to leave Xerox in the mid-1990s and began working for the utility. I learned every aspect of the utility business from that CEO. How rates are determined, how to be a lobbyist, how mergers and acquisitions are structured, and how to form strategic alliances. I found out there are many, many moving parts and pieces to running an energy company. So here's where things go full circle for me. My mentor and sponsor, Xerox, currently today, was on the board of the 3rd largest electric company in the United States, Texas Utilities. He called me when I was in Kansas City, and he asked me if I would come back to Dallas and head up the commodities and product development for the company as it was prepared for deregulation that George W. Bush had signed into law in 1999, the Act, Senate Bill 7, to open the electric market for competition. So I came back to Dallas in 2000, and I headed up the global development efforts for the company because we had 7 million customers in London, 3 million in Australia, and about 4 million in Texas. So I headed up that entire effort for commodities and product development. What a fascinating journey that was. And then I started opening. To start a business, to become an energy broker. I learned early in the evolution of energy deregulation there was a need for brokerage services in the commercial space. So in 2004, I decided to leave corporate America, and this is when River Oaks Energy was born. It has been an unbelievable and rewarding, inspiring journey with lots of excitement and success. Working in corporate America was a wonderful experience, but becoming an entrepreneur has been one of the most fulfilling and challenging adventures I've ever taken on. I didn't hit my peak of personal satisfaction until I started to develop a successful business. Being an entrepreneur takes a lot of hard work and dedication. And I'm going to give you a couple of non-technical attributes I think it takes to be successful as an entrepreneur. Number 1, incredible resilience, the ability to weather the ups and downs, the skill to keep going when the outlook is very bleak. Business is a bit of ebb and flow, if you will. Ebb and flow, ebb and flow. That's business, with a lot of peaks and valleys. Recognizing both gives you an advantage in the world in which you're going to compete. Selling. A lot of people don't like the word. Every entrepreneur is a salesperson, whether they want to be or not. So you're either selling something, selling an idea, or selling an investment for the future. But remember, there's a difference between being pushy and selling an idea. There's a very thin line between the two. Learning. Be a lifelong learner. Be a student forever. Realize you don't know everything, and the market is constantly changing. Stay up to date with the trends and stay abreast of future curves. Be very aware. Be a student for life. Self-reflection. Allow for downtime for yourself to reflect on the past and plan for the future. Always working leads to incredible burnout, both physically and emotionally. Because you've got to be very mindful that you're not only impacting yourself, you're impacting your family when you're burned out. You know, I believe all of us have an obligation to give back to the community. And my inclination to give back started when I was a child. When I would watch my granddad deliver fresh water to neighbors. He really didn't have to do that, but he did. And I want to give you 3 or 4 examples as to how we give back to the community in which we serve. You know, I spent 4 years in the active reserve, and most of that time was here at USM. The military gave me a lot of structure, a sense of belonging, and made me proud to be a part of something very special. And I was honored to give back to my country and to the state of Mississippi during those years. You know, Nexus Ventures, I'm a board member of Nexus Ventures. This is a renewable energy private equity firm dedicated to investing in solar. You know, what we're trying to do is to lower greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere, because we feel pretty strongly that there are alternative energy sources that makes the world less dependent on carbon-based power plants. And I want to say something else. Another way that I'm giving back is through this USM Foundation. For the past 3 or 4 years, I've been a member of the Ford Foundation. Kathy and I have set up this endowment that allows for scholarship to be given to a high school senior. And this year, I'll become president of the foundation, and we'll work with Stacy, the board, Dr. Bennett, your staff. And what we'll try to do is to try to continue to advance the mission of the foundation and try to help the university continue as a real competitive higher institution of learning. You know, it takes funds and fundraising in order to do that. And that's really important. It takes funds and fundraising to keep your university competitive. You know, 3 years ago, I was approached and I was appointed by Governor Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, to serve as one of the 9 commissioners to regulate the county jail system of Texas. This body of individuals is responsible for setting all the standards throughout the state of Texas for the treatment, rehabilitation, mental health evaluation, death investigation, sexual assault investigations, closing of jails, construction of jails, to the 248 county jails and approximately 80,000 inmates in the system. When I accepted this appointment from Governor Abbott, I did so with the thought of giving back to the state of Texas and to my community. That is an awesome responsibility, and there's a lot of things going on in the criminal justice system that I was completely unaware of. I am aware now. You know, a wise old man told me this when I was 34 years old. And now I'd like to pass on something, share a few thoughts with you as I close.
I often share these thoughts with people, and I also have done it to my adult children over the years. Do the ordinary things extraordinarily well. And let me break that down for you. I don't care what your chosen field of study is in life. Take pride and ownership in the work of trade that you do. It makes a difference to pay attention to the small, ordinary things. And I'm going to give you an example that I was also doing. You know, I lived in New Orleans, and I often went to crawfish boils. And when you go to a crawfish boil, you see the crawfish in there, and inevitably, one of them will try to get out, right? Nobody gets out. The crawfish always pull the other one back. There is no escape. Every one of them perish because they're not going to allow any crawfish to escape that boiling water. What is the silver lining in that? Well, let me tell you. Be very aware of the people that you surround yourself with as you go through life. It is important to pick your friends wisely, because you don't want to end up pulled back into the boiling water, because there are many people that will do that. Surround yourself, students, with positive people that continue to be positive so that you can advance your life. Don't end up like the boiling crawfish. And I will say this because Kearney told me this, and I'll give an example. One time we were sitting in a car, and I was a real shy kid coming up here. And after I got into corporate America, I was still fairly shy. And he threw a question out at me as we were driving around. He said, "What? How many counties are in Louisiana?" And I kind of curled up and said, I don't know. I don't know. That came across to him as being very uncertain of yourself. Very, very uncertain. You have no confidence, Duane, is what he said. He said, besides, there are no counties in Louisiana. They're all parishes. So the point in that is, he said, Duane, when someone asks you a question in business, answer them with vigor. Answer them with confidence. If you don't know, say, I don't know, but I'll get you the answer. So my advice to you as you go out and interview, you go on your first job, if you don't know, it's okay to say, I don't know. But don't, I don't know. Because that does not exude confidence in the person sitting across from you. It makes you look very, very unsure of yourself. And you might not be able to see it, but they certainly will. And you know, inspiration will come to many of you in many forms, with many different people. Remember, there is no single inspiration. And all of us are linked and share this great university in this great place. And this can serve as an inspiration to you just as it has for me. And when those inspirations and those events and those people show up in your life, embrace it. Take it on. Take it on with confidence. Take it on with a lot of vigor. And I want to tell you, thank you very much today, and I will be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
What made you want to go from, what made you want to go into green energy?
You know, I get this sometimes. I'm giving you two answers. You have to understand, Nexus Ventures is a for-profit private equity firm. I went into it first for money. The second reason I went into it is because it is what I kind of talked about, the trend. Be very aware of the trend. The trend in the energy business is we are going to go farther into renewable energy in this country. There's no doubt about it. Whether many people want to or not, we are going to have more wind and solar as an energy resource. So I got into it to get ahead of the curve. But I will tell you, the investors and I would not probably be in it because we too have pressure from Wall Street to deliver profits. So that's one. And two is we're getting ahead of the curve. And I do think it's the right thing to do because that's what the future is. So you want to, somehow we have to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And the first way to do that is to reduce the reliance on carbon. Good question.
How do you roll a confidence deal?
You know, number one, realize that you do not know everything. And you got to get real comfortable real quick. When someone is interacting with you, you got to get real comfortable with the fact to say, I don't know. That's uncomfortable for most people. So you develop your confidence as you learn. I went back to that lifelong learning. Never, ever, ever stop learning. Reading. Stay very, very abreast of what's going on in this world and in the chosen field that you have to go into. That in of itself, knowledge is power. Knowledge is confidence. But you also have to reflect on yourself and know that I don't know. But you need to first deliver your message, deliver your answers with what you know and what you don't know. Because I find it all too often where I will catch someone that I may be interviewing and they may be giving me inaccurate information. You gotta remember, someone like me, I will just tell you, I'm probably not gonna ask you a question that I don't already know the answer. That's true of anything that I do, and that's true of anyone in my position. We're probably gonna ask you a question we already know the answer to. So don't lie. Don't try to make it up. Because if I catch you in a lie, and if I catch you making it up, it's going to become a problem for you. I respect the person that tells me they don't know, and they'll get back to me much more so than the person who lies to me. Ma'am?
Duane, you mentioned something to me once about preparing for a career and having your sights set on, I'm going to be the top dog. And you mentioned that somebody gave you some advice.
Yeah.
Would you share that with the students?
And the late Craig today, he was some kind of guy. He was from Bill Platt. He was kind of a whole unfortunately died in 2012. And again, I'm sitting around, I'm sitting at some dining event with him, and I was an eager young man. And I was always talking to him about, what about this job? What about this job? And of course, I've got a job, right? And he stopped the car. He literally stopped the car and pulled off the side and said, Duane, I want to give you 2 pieces of advice about that. Number one, he said, first of all, you have not lived long enough in this world to even think about the next one. Recognize the fact of where you are. You had no long enough.
Number two, don't try to promote yourself to a job because you've got to figure out how to do the job you're in. Figure out how to do that job extraordinarily well before you start thinking about the next one. And number three, he said, Duane, I gotta tell you, I know by the behavior and the traits that you throw off, I already know that you're acting in that manner of the next job before you ever get the job. It's just a matter of me appointing you to the job. In other words, Duane, you're a sub-manager long before you ever get the job. And my advice to you is, don't get ahead of your skis. Don't get ahead of where you are. Do what you're doing very, very well before you start jumping over and talking about the next job and the next job. Do what you are very, very well. Because at the end of the day, everybody's watching, whether you think they are or not. And I'll expand on this a little bit. You know, when I first went to this class, I was in a program called 3510, and that's why I moved so much. 3510 was a specialized program, and at the time, Xerox had 140,000 employees. And they picked 10 or 100 people to participate in this program, and I was one of them. And you had to be younger than 35 years old, and you had to have less than 10 years experience, which I still probably know. And in doing so, I found myself in meetings in New York mostly with my colleagues that had gone to Ivy Leagues, Harvard, and Princeton, you know. And let me tell you something, it's here to daylight something. I was terrified because for a brief moment there I thought, has there been a mistake putting me in here with these people? I can't possibly compete with these people. But I quickly found out that they were mainly big picture people. They could do all kinds of analysis with spreadsheets. They could do all kinds of financial projections. They could do all kinds of strategy. But guess what they weren't good at? They weren't good with the little details. But I was. And I would just do the little details, polishing those tomatoes, polishing those watermelons, and in a very short while, guess what? Old Duane got promoted. And then I started hiring them. I said, George, I want you to do the spreadsheets. Becky, I want you to do the analysis. Michelle, I want you to prepare the presentation. Because all of a sudden I was a boss. I didn't go to Harvard. I went to Southern Miss. And I'm very, very proud of that. But I didn't start out that way. But I found out very quick that it was okay. So, getting back to answer your question, don't try to be part of these jobs. Do what you're doing really well, and everything else will take care of itself.
So for those who are getting ready to venture out into the business world, can you talk a little bit about, when you're sitting down with a potential candidate, what are you looking for? What are the qualities of someone you're going to hire?
First and foremost, and I was telling this Eagle Scholar this yesterday, number one thing, I don't care if you're a financial analyst, I don't care if you're an accountant. Communication skills. You've got to prove to me that you can communicate. You've got to prove to me that you can articulate something. I've got to know that you know what you're talking about. You've got to be able Fortunately, unfortunately, I'm a very impatient person. Just like most people. I give you about 30 seconds. You got to prove to me that you can either write it out or talk it out. But I got to look at that piece of paper that you presented to me in the form of whatever, bio, resume, whatever you're going to give me. I've got to be able to pick up on what you all about within 30 seconds. But if I don't, I'm going to toss it aside. That's something. And guess what? It has to be that way. Because time is money, money is time. Now, I might have a little more patience with people if you were somehow referred by someone that I respect. But if you're coming in blind, it's different. So communication skills first. And I'll give you a little quick on that one. I did go to a Jesuit university for an MBA. And Jesuit, there's 26 Jesuit colleges and universities in the country. Georgetown's one, Boston College, great university. I don't know. When we would do tests, accounting, well, finance, anyway, not only did we have to provide the numeric answer, we'd have to write them out, and perhaps you have to do the same thing here. But here's where the zinger came in. In our written responses to the questions, they reduced our grade one letter for every grammatical error. They reduced our grade one letter for every grammatical error in that test. So that puts a lot of pressure on you. The point was, you have to be able to communicate. That is the number one criteria. Because if you apply for the job, the going in prognosis is, you qualify to even apply for it. That's the going in. It's just a matter of how well you do it. So that's the answer to the question. Communicate with it.
Duane, and followed up on that, I see a lot of resumes, cover letters, and things like that. Talk to us about those initial communications to a prospective employer, what you're looking for in those documents, what you're looking for.
Yeah. Well, when a cover letter or resume comes in, the first thing is, you gotta tell them what you want. You gotta do that fairly quick in your summary, in your objective. So if you're, don't send me something generic. If you're applying for a particular position with a particular idea, you need to state that up front and very, very quickly. So being fair, brevity is important. So don't give me a long dissertation. Brevity, objectives, be clear, be concise, be brief. Show me that you can communicate right. That's the first thing you look at in color. Because truthfully, usually, I won't get to that. Someone is probably screening that before it gets to me. But if it gets to me, someone saw something in that resume that is good. Something that you perhaps have accomplished that would apply to the job that you're applying for. It can very well be something in school. It can be very well something you've done. You would not believe it. Just growing up on an egg farm. When I first started in school, out of here, I would tell people, I count pretty well because I counted 10,000 eggs a day. I'm like, oh, really? Bring them in, let's see what you can do. Well, that's something that I had accomplished, but it applied to the first job. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, on your resume, don't let it get past one page. Don't let it get past one page because you should be able to summarize yourself without it being a multiple page. Because it's just not outrageous. And last one, when I look at that, there's a difference between a mentor and a sponsor.
does that person serve as a sponsor? Because truthfully, I'm a mentor to all of you. I may not know you by name, but I'm a mentor because I'm an advocate for the university. If somebody shows up with a Southern Miss, well, sure, I'm a mentor. But a sponsor on your resume, in the form of a reference, is someone that speaks to you in meetings, someone that recommends you in meetings, someone that stands for you and say, hey, I stand behind this individual from this place because I'm their sponsor, as opposed to mentor. Big difference. There's no behind you had a question.
Yes, sir. You said, you work for utility companies.
Yeah.
I'm a construction manager.
Okay.
Did you deal a lot,
With utility?
yeah.
Okay.
I was where I was asking, did y'all do a lot of construction?
Oh, yeah. Utility company is all about construction. You think about, I would say, first of all, nothing big is going to happen in a town without a utility company. It just won't. Because when you're putting together an incentive package for someone to move to a town or move to a community, the utility company must be at the table because there's a lot of investment that have to go into a facility, a building, a housing development. So, yes, construction is all what a utility is about. Besides, the more construction they do, the more they get to put into the rate base for guaranteed rate returns. They want to do construction because that's how they make the money. It's guaranteed. The regulators approve the rates. So of course they want to do construction. So I'm happy for you. I hope that it's really working for you because that's a really good job.
Time for one more question.
At one point here, I think. By the way, that's my nephew. I gotta take it.
Say was one of the biggest challenges, when you decided to open the
Biggest challenges opening your roads. You know, I had some doubt initially, and I gotta tell you why, because when I first sat down to discuss it, I had my peers. It was four people. We went to a restaurant, I know it was a Palm in Dallas, downtown Dallas. And I went there and I had like a little 4 or 5 page presentation, because I always did presentations. And I never will forget, 2 of the guys laughed at me. They said, Duane, are you nuts? You got this big cushy job, you know, making the dollar you're making here, and you're part of the top management team here. Why in the world would you leave it? So, and I respected these guys. So them laughing at me was like, oh God, maybe they see something I don't. But there was one guy sitting there with us, I can't give you his name. You know it. He said, Duane, and I go with you. And that totally changed everything for me. Because I knew I had to learn. And you understand, I'd already studied the markets in London. I'd already studied the markets in Australia. We flew over there and all that. So they were ahead of Texas. They were ahead of the United States in their open market efforts. In fact, the open market in Texas is really based off the model in London. So, and what London was experiencing at the time, and THQ owned 7 million customers over there. We found that after about 4 years, 80% of the commercial customers were using brokerage services rather than trying to get a good contract for themselves. So these brokers, you know, are intermediaries They wedged themselves, and I don't know how to say this, they would wedge themselves between buyer and seller. And they would negotiate the deal and take the cream off the top. Help the meeting out here. I don't want you guys to go back and bash me in Texas. And that model was so good, and I knew it was good. Why? Because I'd never been in a market, I've never been in a business where you could make as much of the deal as a utility company without taking a risk. And you remember, I was in the commodity business too. Doing commodities is a very risky business. Ask the former Enron. Commodities will take down the ship. It took Enron that. So playing the commodity game is very, very risky. But these brokers could take the margin off the top without taking a risk. And I understood that. And the guy that wanted to go with me understood I didn't take him up there. But so what was scary for me? Well, I'll tell you right now, this little block and tackle here. I had 3 kids and a wife at home. And a cushy job. So, in and of itself, that's scary. But remember, if you jump into the entrepreneurial business, you've got to figure out real quick the difference between your desire to be an entrepreneur and the risk management side of things. Because it doesn't always work out like that. I just happened to be there at a moment in time when we were opening the market in the United States. I'm not that smart, but I'm smart enough to recognize an opportunity. So, clear? But do it if you want to do it.
I think it's time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dick, for your time and investment in the University of Southern Mississippi. We'd like to award you this Golden Eagle. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.